Captain Sarah Morrison stood at the observation deck of the Earth Embassy on Centauri Prime, watching the gleaming spires of the Galactic Assembly pierce the violet sky. 30 years of peaceful cooperation with the galaxy's civilizations had led to this moment, humanity's nomination for full membership in the Assembly. Yet something felt wrong. Her neural implant buzzed with an urgent message from Dr. James Chen, her chief intelligence officer. "Captain, we have a situation. The Arcturus delegation just received an encrypted transmission. Something about a terrorist attack." Before she could respond, emergency sirens blared throughout the embassy. Holoprojectors flickered to life, showing devastating footage of explosions ripping through the peaceful garden world of Eden Prime. The destruction bore the unmistakable signature of human warships. "This is impossible," Sarah whispered. Earth's entire fleet was accounted for, their weapons systems locked down as a show of good faith during the membership proceedings. She knew this was a fabrication, but proving it would be another matter entirely. The assembly chamber erupted in chaos as representatives from 1,000 worlds demanded justice. High Counselor Zextal, the crystalline being who had championed humanity's cause, now stood with his facets darkened in shame. "The evidence is irrefutable." His harmonic voice resonated through the chamber. "Humanity has betrayed our trust in the most heinous way possible." Sarah fought her way through the crowd, desperately trying to reach the podium. "This is a frame-up. Earth had nothing to gain from this attack. We demand an independent investigation." But her words were drowned out by the collective roar of angry voices. The vote for expulsion was swift and nearly unanimous. Humanity was ordered to retreat behind the boundaries of their solar system within 1 standard year. Any human found beyond those limits would face immediate termination. As the chamber emptied, Sarah received another message from Dr. Chen. "Captain, I've analyzed the attack footage. The energy signatures are wrong. They've been manipulated. But there's more. I've traced the source of the fabrication to the Eternal Ones." The Eternal Ones. Sarah's blood ran cold. The mysterious elder race that had withdrawn from galactic affairs millennia ago. Why would they orchestrate humanity's downfall? Back on her ship, the TSS Defiant, Sarah reviewed Chen's findings. The evidence was subtle but damning. The Eternal Ones had been monitoring humanity's rapid technological advancement with growing concern. In just 3 decades, humans had mastered faster-than-light travel, developed revolutionary AI systems, and begun unraveling the secrets of dark energy manipulation. "They fear us," Chen explained, his holographic form flickering with barely contained anger. "Not for what we are, but for what we might become." The attack on Eden Prime was staged to ensure we never reach our full potential. Sarah's fingers tightened around the edge of her command console. "Send everything you found to Earth Command. And Chen, initiate Protocol Omega. If they want us gone, we'll leave, but on our terms." As the Defiant broke orbit, Sarah watched Centauri Prime recede into the distance. Humanity had been betrayed, but they wouldn't go quietly into exile. Deep within secure facilities across Earth, plans were already being drawn up. The galaxy had never seen humanity's true potential, their capacity for innovation when backed into a corner. The year of grace they'd been given wouldn't be spent in lamentation. It would be used to prepare, to build, to plan. The Eternal Ones thought they were containing a threat. Instead, they had created one. Sarah opened a channel to Earth Command. "This is Captain Morrison. The exile decree has been passed. Request permission to begin Phase 1 of Protocol Omega." The response was immediate. "Permission granted, Captain. Welcome to Project Phoenix." As the Defiant entered hyperspace, Sarah allowed herself a grim smile. The galaxy thought they were watching humanity's final chapter. They didn't realize it was just the beginning. Dr. Marcus Chen's footsteps echoed through the vast underground chamber beneath the Olympus Mons facility on Mars. 300 meters of red rock separated his team from the prying eyes of alien surveillance satellites. Here, in humanity's greatest secret, the impossible was taking shape. "Status report," he called out to his team of engineers and scientists. each chosen not just for their brilliance, but for their unwavering loyalty to Earth. The chamber housed their masterpiece, the prototype of humanity's new warship class, its hull gleaming with the dark sheen of metamaterials that shouldn't exist for another century. Dr. Maya Patel, his lead quantum physicist, approached with a holographic display of their latest tests. The dark matter reactor is stable. We've successfully replicated the Eternal One's energy signature. When this ship launches, it'll read as background radiation to their sensors. Marcus nodded, running his hand along the ship's hull. They'd named it Prometheus, appropriate for a vessel that would steal the fire of the gods. The past 6 months had transformed humanity's scientific understanding. Desperation had bred innovation at an unprecedented pace. Dr. Chen, a voice called from the communications array. We're receiving a priority message from Captain Morrison. The Eternal Ones are moving. The holographic display showed Sarah's face, tense with urgency. They're not waiting for the year to end. 3 of their world ships just entered the Kuiper Belt. Marcus cursed under his breath. They needed more time. The Prometheus was ready, but they planned to build at least 5 more before revealing their hand. How long do we have? At their current velocity, 48 hours until they reach Earth orbit. They're not here to enforce exile, Marcus. They're here to end us. The chamber erupted into controlled chaos as Marcus issued rapid-fire orders. Begin evacuation protocols. Transfer all research data to the quantum cores. Maya, start the reactor initialization sequence. In the following hours, a steady stream of stealth shuttles ferried essential personnel and equipment to hidden bases throughout the solar system. The Prometheus would be humanity's sword, but they needed shields too, places to hide, to rebuild, to survive. Marcus worked alongside his team, uploading decades of research into secure databases. The Eternal Ones had made a critical mistake in underestimating humanity's resourcefulness. While alien observers watched Earth's visible military preparations, the obvious construction of defensive satellites and planetary shields, the real work had happened in places like this. "Sir," Maya called out, her voice tight with excitement. "You need to see this." She pulled up data from their latest quantum scans of the approaching world ships. They're defensive matrices. They're based on predictable patterns. Complex, yes, but predictable. Our AI systems can crack them. A plan began forming in Marcus's mind. The Prometheus wasn't just a warship, it was a proof of concept. Every breakthrough they'd made in its construction could be replicated, improved upon. They might not have numbers, but they had innovation on their side. "Send word to all facilities," he ordered. "Operation Lazarus is now active. Begin mass production of the quantum cores." The cores were their greatest achievement, artificial intelligence systems that could process information faster than any organic mind, yet remain undetectable to alien sensors. As the evacuation continued, Marcus received another call, this time from Admiral Chen of the Earth Defense Fleet. "The Security Council has approved Protocol 0. You have full authorization to proceed, Doctor. Whatever it takes to ensure humanity's survival." Marcus looked at the Prometheus, its dark hull absorbing the chamber's lights. In ancient mythology, Prometheus was punished for giving fire to humanity. The Eternal Ones were about to learn why that had been a mistake. Humanity now had fire of its own, and they'd built it into something the galaxy had never seen before. "Begin launch sequence," he ordered. "And send this message to all human colonies and outposts. The Phoenix rises at dawn." It was their coded signal to activate sleeper cells throughout known space, to set in motion plans years in the making. As the massive chamber doors began to open, revealing the red Martian sky above, Marcus allowed himself a moment of grim satisfaction. The Eternal Ones thought they were coming to end humanity. Instead, they were about to witness humanity's rebirth, in fire and defiance. The Prometheus rose silently into the Martian atmosphere, its revolutionary engines leaving no trace of its passage. Humanity's counterstrike was about to begin. and the galaxy would never be the same. Admiral James Rivera stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, watching Earth's blue sphere shrink in the distance. Behind him, hidden in the shadow of Jupiter's massive bulk, humanity's secret fleet waited. 50 ships, each built in underground facilities across the solar system, each carrying technology that would shake the foundations of galactic society. Multiple contacts, his tactical officer announced. The Eternal One's world ships have passed Neptune's orbit. Their weapon systems are hot. The holographic display showed 3 massive vessels, each the size of a small moon, their crystalline surfaces refracting starlight in impossible patterns. James straightened his uniform. Send the activation signal to all ships. Execute Phoenix Protocol. Across the fleet, advanced AI cores hummed to life, quantum engines spooled up, and crews prepared for humanity's most audacious gambit. "Sir," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the lead world ship." The bridge speakers crackled with a voice that seemed to echo from the dawn of time itself. "Children of Earth," the Eternal One spoke, its tone carrying millennia of condescension. "Your species has proven too dangerous to merely exile. We have watched your kind spread chaos through ordered systems, introducing change where there should be stability. Your extinction will restore balance." James allowed himself a small smile. "Send our response." He cleared his throat. "This is Admiral James Rivera of the Earth Defense Fleet. You're trespassing in human space. Withdraw immediately." The answer came in the form of energy beams that could shear a planet in half, but where they expected to find defenseless humans, they found empty space. The Prometheus and its fleet had vanished, their quantum drives bending reality in ways the Eternal Ones had thought impossible. "All ships, execute attack pattern Delta," James ordered. The human fleet materialized in perfect formation, surrounding the world ships. The Eternal One's sensors registered confusion. These vessels bore energy signatures that shouldn't exist, shields that defied their most advanced weapons. The battle that followed would be spoken of for centuries. Human ships danced through space with impossible agility, their AI cores predicting and countering every move the Eternal Ones made. The quantum shields Dr. Chen had developed absorbed and redirected energy weapons that could vaporize continents. "Their patterns are breaking down," his tactical officer reported with barely contained excitement. "They've never faced an enemy they couldn't predict." That was humanity's true advantage, not just their technology, but their ability to innovate, to think in ways that defied the logical patterns the Eternal Ones had relied upon for millions of years. James opened a channel to all ships. "Initiate Phase 2. Show them what we've learned." The fleet executed a synchronized quantum jump, their engines tearing holes in reality itself. They emerged inside the world ship's defensive perimeters, in positions that should have been impossible to reach. The Eternal One's response was immediate and devastating. Space itself seemed to warp as they unleashed weapons that could unmake stars. But humanity had prepared for this too. The fleet's quantum cores linked together, creating a unified field that turned the enemy's own power against them. "We're receiving transmissions from across the galaxy," his communications officer reported. "Other species are watching. They're seeing the Eternal One's invincibility challenged for the first time in known history." James nodded grimly. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about showing the galaxy that the age of the Eternal One's unchallenged dominance was over. Humanity had not just caught up to their technology. They had surpassed it in ways that defied comprehension. "Signal the fleet," he ordered. "Execute final phase." The human ships moved in perfect synchronization, their quantum fields merging into a single overwhelming force. The world ships, for the first time in their ancient existence, found themselves trapped, their godlike technology countered by human ingenuity. To the Eternal Ones, James broadcast, his voice calm and measured. "You sought to destroy us because you feared what we might become. Look around you. Your fear was justified, but not for the reasons you thought. We don't seek dominion or destruction. We seek understanding. knowledge, growth. Everything you abandoned in your quest for perfect order. The response came not from the world ships, but from across the galaxy. Species that had lived under the Eternal One's shadow for countless generations watched in awe as humanity demonstrated that the impossible was merely a challenge to be overcome. As the battle reached its climax, James knew that this was more than just humanity's survival at stake. This was the moment when the galaxy would learn that progress couldn't be contained, that innovation and change were not forces to be feared. The Phoenix Protocol wasn't just a military strategy. It was proof that humanity's greatest strength lay not in their weapons, but in their relentless drive to push beyond established boundaries. The Eternal Ones had sought to extinguish that fire. Instead, they had caused it to burn brighter than ever before. Commander Diana Wells moved silently through the crystalline corridors of the captured world ship, her quantum stealth field rendering her invisible to the ancient vessel's security systems. The battle outside had reached a stalemate, humanity's fleet holding the Eternal Ones at bay, while diplomatic channels buzzed with urgent communications from every species in the galaxy. But Diana knew the real answers lay within these halls. Her neural interface connected with the ship's systems, translating alien data streams into comprehensible information. Dr. Chen's breakthroughs in quantum computing had given them the key to unlocking the Eternal One's most closely guarded secrets. Archive core located, she subvocalized to her team. Beginning data extraction. The massive database before her contained millions of years of history, not just of the Eternal Ones, but of every species they had guided, manipulated, or destroyed. As she delved deeper into the archives, a pattern emerged that made her blood run cold. Command, are you seeing this? The data showed cycles of civilization rise and fall, each carefully orchestrated by the Eternal Ones. They weren't just observers or guardians. They were gardeners, pruning any species that grew too quickly, too unpredictably. They're afraid of chaos, she realized, watching historical records of civilizations that had been systematically destroyed or redirected. Not just change, but the unpredictability of rapid evolution. Humanity's crime hadn't been aggression or expansion. It had been their refusal to follow the careful, controlled path the Eternal Ones had laid out for technological development. A presence materialized beside her, one of the Eternal Ones, its crystalline form shifting through colors that represented emotional states Diana's human mind could barely comprehend. You understand now, it spoke, its voice resonating directly in her thoughts. Order must be maintained. Diana stood her ground, protected by shields the Eternal One couldn't penetrate. You've been stagnating the galaxy, she accused, preventing natural growth and evolution because it frightens you. The being's colors shifted to deep purples, acknowledgement, perhaps, or resignation. We remember the chaos of our own evolution, it explained. The wars, the destruction, the near extinction of our kind. We sought to prevent others from following our path. Historical records flowed through Diana's neural interface, images of devastating conflicts that had shaped the Eternal Ones millions of years ago. But that's exactly why we need to evolve naturally, Diana argued. Your intervention doesn't prevent chaos. It ensures civilizations never develop the strength to handle it. She transmitted her findings to the fleet and to the watching galaxy. The truth of millions of years of manipulation laid bare for all to see. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Species that had lived under the Eternal One's guidance for generations began questioning everything they knew. The careful order these ancient beings had maintained was unraveling, not through violence, but through understanding. Admiral Rivera's voice came through her calm. Commander Wells, the Eternal One's fleet is standing down. Whatever you found in there has changed everything. Diana watched as the crystalline being beside her shifted through rapid color changes, its rigid worldview confronting uncomfortable truths. Your species, it communicated, achieves in decades what should take millennia. You defy patterns, break rules, imagine impossible solutions. We sought to contain this chaos, but in doing so, we nearly destroyed something precious. The beam's form stabilized into a deep blue. Acceptance. Diana accessed more of the ship's archives, discovering the true extent of humanity's impact on the galaxy. Their brief presence in the galactic community had inspired other species to question, to innovate, to dream of possibilities beyond the careful limits the Eternal Ones had set. "We don't need gardeners," she told the ancient being. "We need teachers, allies, equals. Your knowledge is invaluable, but it must be shared, not used to control." The archives showed countless technological breakthroughs the Eternal Ones had suppressed, knowledge that could transform lives across the galaxy. As she transmitted the last of the data to the fleet, Diana felt the world ship's systems changing around her. The Eternal One was removing barriers, deactivating ancient protocols that had kept so much knowledge sealed away. Perhaps, it communicated, it is time for us to learn as well. The revelation spread across the galaxy like a shockwave. Species that had been carefully guided for millions of years suddenly had access to their true history, their suppressed potential. The careful order of the Eternal Ones was giving way to something new, not chaos, but natural growth and evolution. Diana made her way back to her ship, carrying with her the knowledge that would reshape galactic civilization. Humanity hadn't just survived extinction. They had unwittingly triggered a transformation that would affect every sentient being in known space. The age of controlled evolution was over. The age of unlimited potential was about to begin. 1 year after the confrontation with the Eternal Ones, the great chamber of the new Galactic Coalition bore little resemblance to the old assembly. Gone were the rigid hierarchies and carefully controlled protocols. In their place stood representatives from every spacefaring species, gathered as equals to shape their shared future. Admiral Rivera, now serving as Earth's primary delegate, watched as holographic displays showed the transformation spreading across known space. Worlds that had been intentionally kept centuries behind in development were now advancing rapidly, guided by shared knowledge rather than restricted by it. "The quantum network is now operational in the Orion sector," announced Tilara, a former junior species representative now leading the Technology Distribution Initiative. "That makes 300 systems connected to the free exchange of information." Her people had been among the first to embrace the new era, their natural aptitude for quantum mechanics finally unleashed. The Eternal Ones themselves had undergone perhaps the most dramatic transformation. Many had chosen to become teachers and guides, sharing their vast knowledge while learning from the chaotic creativity of younger races. Their world ships, once instruments of control, now served as mobile universities where species could learn from each other. "We're receiving reports from the deep space expeditions," Dr. Chen reported, his hologram flickering beside Rivera. "The quantum drives are performing beyond expectations. We've mapped regions of space the Eternal Ones never dared to explore." The spirit of discovery that had once terrified them now drove collaboration between all species. Commander Wells, leading humanity's diplomatic course, stepped forward to address the coalition. "The Archives integration project is proceeding on schedule. We're not just recovering suppressed knowledge. We're discovering new applications by combining technologies in ways the Eternal Ones never considered." The chamber hummed with energy as representatives shared their own reports. Species that had been bitter rivals under the old order now worked together, finding strength in their differences rather than fear. The prediction engines that had once been used to identify and suppress dangerous developments were now used to accelerate progress, guided by ethical principles all had helped establish. An Eternal One representative, its crystalline form now displaying the warm colors of optimism, joined the discussion. "We have observed more advancement in this past year than in the previous millennium. Our fear of chaos blinded us to its potential for creation." Rivera smiled, remembering the desperate days when humanity had faced extinction. "We never wanted to rule," he addressed the chamber. "We simply refused to be ruled. That's the principle this coalition must preserve, the right of all species to determine their own path, to learn from their mistakes, to grow at their own pace." The coalition had established new protocols for technological development, not to restrict it, but to ensure it served the greater good. The quantum cores that had given humanity its edge in battle now formed the backbone of a galaxy-wide network for sharing knowledge and resources. We're detecting unusual energy signatures from the galactic core, a sensor operator announced. In the past, such news would have brought fear. Now, it sparked excitement. A dozen species immediately volunteered ships and expertise for an expedition. The universe is vast, Rivera addressed the chamber, but our potential to understand it is greater when we work together. He watched as mission parameters were quickly established, resources allocated, and crews assembled, all without the rigid controls that would have once made such collaboration impossible. In the observation dome above the chamber, Diana Wells stood with one of the Eternal Ones, watching ships of various species departing for the unknown. "Did you ever imagine this future?" she asked the ancient being. "We imagined every possible future," it responded, its colors shifting thoughtfully. "But we never understood that the best ones couldn't be controlled or predicted. They had to be discovered together." Throughout known space, the signs of transformation were everywhere. Worlds that had been kept in artificial isolation now buzzed with activity as species shared technology, culture, and dreams. The careful garden the Eternal Ones had maintained for millions of years had become a wild, beautiful forest of possibility. Humanity had not only survived their exile, they had helped birth the new age of exploration and cooperation. The galaxy was no longer a place of rigid order and careful limits. It had become what it was always meant to be, an endless frontier of discovery, where every species could reach for the stars in their own way, at their own pace, but never alone. As the coalition chamber adjourned, Rivera looked at the faces around him, human, alien, and even Eternal One, all united in purpose if not in form. They had feared chaos would destroy them. Instead, it had set them free.